Hey, Stephen on here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. Does anybody remember this? The 1955 Ford Thunderbird. Beautiful little car. Ford's answer to Corvette, frankly. Steel-bodied car, strictly 2 seats. Beautiful little car, V8 powered. Well, by 1989, the 10th generation Thunderbird had taken this idea either to an absurdity or an appropriate revolution or evolution. With that said, this is an 89 Thunderbird. This is basically the first of this family of 10th generation Thunderbirds, which went from 1989 through 1997. This is the MN12 platform. And it's actually Thunderbird's first specific platform. It didn't come out of another car. In fact, this platform was 9 inches longer in wheelbase than the Fox Mustang style Thunderbird of 1988 and before, which actually had its roots in the Fox Mustang in many ways. And again, that had a solid rear axle. Well, the MN12 introduced for the first time ever independent rear suspension. We'll get to that in a minute, but these things went from the beam and the coil springs of 1988 all the way back to independent rear suspension, once again, for a better ride. There was a little brief period of time, a company called J. Biddle American down in San Diego, California, would actually do conversions. They'd pull these independent rear suspensions out, put them under Fox Mustangs for, to bring the Fox Mustang into the independent rear suspension age. They were heavy, they handled a little bit better, they weren't kind of a flop, but they were kind of a flop. With that said, independent rear suspension, and again, rear wheel drive still right here on Thunderbird. Now this one here is a basic car. We all know that in the late 80s up till 88, the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe was a legend. 2.3 liters, turbocharged intercooled, while the Super Coupe replaced it in 1989 with a supercharger. More on that in a second, but before we get into the back, look at this old muffler right here. Now, the federal mandates require emissions to be 100,000 miles without changes. So in other words, modern cars have stainless steel exhaust systems, generally speaking, from the manifolds all the way to the tailpipes. It's not a high-grade stainless, but it will go 100,000 miles. It has to. The emissions can't change. Well, this is the old days. This is an old school canister muffler. And look at the rot and the rust. You got to remember that emissions, smoke, exhaust is actually caustic, and it eats metal like this alive. And this degree of rust, and here we can see the inner workings of a muffler right there. It's interesting, the gases come in, hit this dead wall, bounce around, and come back out the other side. That's what a muffler does. It tames the exhaust sounds with a little bit of back pressure. But again, there was kind of a racket going on. These things only lasted 2 years, maybe 3. They'd rust out, had to go in and get it replaced at Midas. So good riddance to bad garbage. Okay, inside the trunk of the 10th generation Thunderbird, we see right here, fairly commodious. Yes, I said it again. Lots of room. The Space Saver spare is probably somewhere underneath here. Yeah, there it is. There it is, the micro spare right there. It's a 15-incher, and the little screw jack deal right here. And again, these were, reasonable cars. They were basically, these were always 2 doors. They were never station wagons or convertibles or 4 doors. T-Bird was always a personal luxury kind of a car. But again, this is the base model. Although it does have the optional aluminum wheels, $299 extra. The base cars actually had wire wheel covers as a possibility, just chintzy stuff. But inside, center console, you could get a 5-speed manual or that 4-speed automatic. Now the 5-speed manual was strictly on Super Coupes, of which this is not one. So that's your basic one-size-fits-all automatic transmission. But the nice thing is it has the console, head buckets, kind of a sporty interior. But again, the MN12 Thunderbird family starts right here, 1989. And one thing this does not have is the keyless entry, which on the driver's side would have a little pad right here with 4 little buttons. You'd push your little code in there, 429, whatever the heck it might be. This one, of course, has the keys, the base stuff. But again, keyless entry was an option on these cars, as it was on the Fox-type Thunderbirds of 1988 and earlier. Now, getting to the front, let's open the hood and see what is going on here. And how convenient is this? A little nature's hood prop. How nice is that? Cool. Okay, this is the basic V6, the 3.8 liter engine. Now the interesting thing is that the Thunderbird is the 10th gen, is the first Thunderbird that did not have an available V8 when it debuted. In 1989 and 1990, the only engine you could get was the 3.8 liter Essex V6. Now the supercharged version of this was also available, but there was no V8, the 5-liter, until 1991. And I think in 1994, the 4.6 mod motor replaced the 302 pushrod engine. But again, for 89 and 90, no V8 Thunderbird, strictly V6 power. Now getting back to that supercharger, here is the Thunderbird SC Super Coupe, a Revell model from 1989. And it's kind of cool. They show all of the details on it, factory photographs of the engine. Super Coupe, supercharged, of course. On the other side, you can build it either stock or custom. And one thing about model kits, you know, and you ask any Detroit engineer, half of them started building models as kids because you'll learn a lot. Here is the underside, and we can see here the independent rear suspension rendered in 1/25th scale. Again, a Thunderbird first, independent rear suspension, IRS, not the Internal Revenue Service, but actually theoretically better handling and a better ride. But again, this is the Super Coupe, the difference being the wheels and just basically more luxury going on here with this. As we make our way around here, we can see this is, again, this is the 140 horsepower, 3.8 liter, not much going on here. The optional 210 horsepower in the Super Coupe, and only the Super Coupe, is the other engine choice. Here's a factory catalog for the 1989 Ford Thunderbird lineup, and we can see right here SC in the front bumper of the Super Coupe with the 210 horsepower supercharged pushrod 3.8 under the hood. But let's take a peek here and see what they have to say for themselves. The new spirit of Thunderbird. Cars change. No kidding. Thunderbird is an example of the dynamic nature of successful automobiles. Throughout its 33-year history, the unmistakable Thunderbird aura has been ever present. Yes, it has. The two-seat. Some would say that the Baby Bird is the best of them all. I think I'll agree. But with that said, Ford still had to sell Thunderbird. So here is the base model, I guess, right here with the optional the aluminum wheels we see. And then on each succeeding page here again is the supercharged car, SC Super Coupe. A little lower, different wheel and tire combo. And again, this one here has 210 horsepower and 315 foot-pounds out of that supercharged V6. Now here's the thing, the year before, the Turbo Coupe with a 2.34 banger made 190 horsepower and only 240 foot-pounds. So, you know, the difference in power was significant. However, with the independent rear suspension, the 10th generation Thunderbird did gain some weight, so it was maybe a wash, put it like that. But this here, the automatic front shoulder belt restraint system is standard on all Thunderbirds. The motorized shoulder belt moves back and forth on a track located above the door. When a front door is open, the belt is positioned forward at the front pillar and out of your way for entry. All you have to do to manually is fasten your seat belt. You can defeat that. We'll get to that in a second. But again, more of the interior shots and more about luxury, and you know, there's not much in the way of high performance pretensions here. The LX was kind of the mid-range car, yawn. You know, but here's the basic hubcaps. Look at these things. These are hideous. They look kind of like the aluminum wheels, but that's the basic plastic hubcap. $299 extra got you the aluminum wheels seen on this one. Now getting back to that supplemental shoulder restraint. Now we all know that the federal government more often than not imposes upgrades in vehicles which are good. Airbags, you know, seat belts, you know, catalytic converters, you know, cleaner emissions. We kind of need those things, but the awkward early stages of that stuff can be seen in things like this right here. I'll go around to the other side, but before airbags were mandated, Detroit gave car makers a grace period to create awkward half steps like this. This thing, where is it? It's right here. This thing right here. This is motorized, and this thing, when you get in the car, turn the key, this slips up like that, and with it the belt would come across your shoulder. Your shoulder harness is automatically applied, and then from there you would apply your seat, your lap belt. Well, you could defeat these things by simply unplugging the belt, which everybody did. And in fact, I had a Ford Focus, an old piece of crap, I mean a lovely old car back in the day. We had this stuff here. The amazing thing, everything else in that car crapped out and broke. The thing that lived all the way to the junkyard was the retractor. Still worked. But again, this was an awkward first step in passive restraints, which means that you don't have to be involved. It happens for you. The ultimate expression of that now is the airbag in the steering wheel. Of course, this is pre that, so the awkward, weird shoulder harness is in effect right here. So that's the story of the 10th generation Thunderbird. Now here's the thing, this was not the end. I think 2002, the 11th gen Thunderbird came after about 98, 99, about 4-year absence. And the 11th generation Thunderbird was a better car in many ways. 2 seats, they kind of got back to the original formula of the sporty baby birds of the 50s. They had a V8, but they weren't that successful. Again, they were kind of girly. And what I mean by that is they had low power, automatic only, often in post-it yellow, which is a secretary color, kind of a weird deal, but they're kind of collectible. So the Thunderbird didn't die here when this came to an end. It did live on in the 11th generation Baby Bird retro style car. Now that went away. Will it come back, Thunderbird? Don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But here it is, man, the 10th generation Thunderbird, first one with independent rear suspension, right here at Bernardston Auto Wrecking. Now, if you like this video, be sure to share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, a like, and hit the bell so you're aware of the next video, which is tomorrow night.